slaves and abolitionists as they blazed a trail towards freedom through the darkest of nights. Yes, we can. It was sung by immigrants as they struck out from distant shores and pioneers who pushed westward against an unforgiving wilderness. Yes, we can.
So what kind of advice would you give him in order for him to be elected for a second term?
I would say just stay the course, try to keep doing what he's trying to do, and not back off on the confrontational issues. I think people sometimes see him weak on issues, but hey, you know, there's mostly Republicans right there now. We elected him, and you know, he's got to deal with them. He's a good manager, though, because he does try to represent all sides. And I think that's what Americans are missing, is because he's actually a moderate, and he is not extreme on any issue at all.
So do you have any particular issues that you want to hear Trump talk about today?
I mean, I want to see what he does with his hair. His hair is something like kind of a goal I have, like to have a toupee just that looks like that. I can't really grow my hair that long, and I like to know how he does it.
Something you're looking forward to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That's about it. Yeah.
Any concerns?
Our foreign affairs.
Foreign affairs? What about them?
Just everything. I don't like Hillary Clinton's. I just don't think she's good, and I think Trump will be better with it. But the wall, I'm not really sure how I feel about that.
I like the wall.
I don't necessarily like the wall, but I don't have a problem with people who aren't supposed to be here not being here. I don't think the wall I don't know if the wall is the way to do it, though.
So a lot of people have been comparing Barack Obama to Martin Luther King. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like it's put pressure on him at all as a president?
I don't think it's no type of comparison. They're two different type of people. They have two different missions. Like one of them gave the seed, and one of them is the actual plant, you know, growing. So you got to make sure it's not really a comparison. I don't like to blur the lines. One's the president, and one was the actual foot soldier for the people. I'm a civil rights guy, so you know, I really don't want nobody to blur the lines up. Just kind of keep the movement going.
Okay. I would just ask you to elaborate on those social points that you feel the Democrat Party isn't going to meet your needs.
You know, some of the things on the social part that I find that the Democrats are a little off for me is really more so on the social welfare and the government's role in our daily lives, and also the issue with same-sex marriage and the rights to bear arms. Actually, as far as like abortion, I'm okay with women's right to choose, not necessarily the act of abortion itself, but I think a person should make a decision as to what they want to do with their body. I don't have any problem with that. But the same-sex marriage and the expansion of, you know, the healthcare system, that's where some of the things that I don't totally agree with.
And some of the things you were talking about in having a problem with him, what are some of the things more specific that bother you about the current administration?
He's not sticking to what he told people he's going to do. Like he just looking out for the peoples in Washington, D.C. He didn't worry about Georgia or nothing. The other states, he just going with the big wheels in Washington, D.C. He did what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to have been doing this for the whole world, but he's sticking with the peoples in Washington, D.C., the corporate people.
The media turns this presidential elections into a circus, and people like their circuses.
You think a lot of that circus has to do with sort of television, advertising, things like that?
The television advertising and the candidates themselves, they play into it. Ever since Kennedy won the debate with Nixon, everyone realized television presence is just as important as policies. And now it's turned to be completely all about that, and nothing about substance any longer. And Trump might be obnoxious, but at least he says it like it is. And I'd rather have that than somebody who's lying through their teeth all the time.
Do you think younger people today are as involved civically as they should be?
Well, my children are 60 and over, and they are involved. One is very involved with politics and with religion, and he's not the same religion I am. And my daughter works a lot at a free clinic here in San Diego, up in Solana Beach.
Do you feel Asian Americans are overlooked in the political landscape of America?
I do think that Asian American Pacific Islanders are overlooked in the political landscape of America. I think that's something that that exit polls have shown. The Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, based in New York, and National Capacity, which is the National Coalition of APA Community Development. They did an exit poll, and it showed that, again, 50% of Asian American Pacific Islanders were not contacted by either campaign during the campaign season, and that's a huge hole that any campaign worker, any field director would be tearing their hair out about, because it's a lost opportunity to really reach somebody and really sway them to one side or the other, to just have that FaceTime with them. So I think the ground game for Asian American Pacific Islanders for Obama probably stepped up a little bit more than Romney's campaign, but Romney did have a little bit. But again, Obama's narrative, growing up in Hawaii, having a mother that spent some time in Indonesia and things like that, having an Asian American Pacific Islander brother-in-law, things like that all kind of contribute to people more closely identifying with him on a personal level. And then on the policy side, I think that there's a lot to be said for the healthcare laws and things like that. So yeah, I think they've been overlooked, and it's a big mistake by both parties.
I like President Obama. He's the people's president. He's come from poor background, just like everybody else has. So he understands the people, and he understands what the people need. President Romney, he's a good guy, but he comes from a rich background. Okay, and I don't think he understands the majority of the people's needs in this country. So I'm all for President Obama.
The greater good, we're not coming together. There's such a disconnect from racial tension to political tension to technology. I mean, people don't have conversations anymore. They talk they talk through their phones or their computers. There's not a connection anymore. And so I feel like there's these rants and hatred and tension going on and arguments that people are doing, but it's not even real. It's in cyberspace. So there's all this hate going on, and I think it's perpetuated by social media.
So if you had the chance to vote, who would you vote for?
Obama.
And why?
Because he can be the first African American to become a president.
Do you think you could be the first African American to become president, or the second if Barack isn't voted?
Yes, if I put my mind to it.
What do you want to be?
I want to play in the NFL.
Oh, okay, so we've got an athlete over here. Being out here, do you think this is something you'll ever forget?
No.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Because, I truly believe there's a downside to every single thing we do. There's an upside to every single thing we do. So I'm not saying, this has to happen now, because who knows what the fallout's going to be. So it's more like, just go with it, do the best you can do.
What scares them about Native Americans, even up into today? What makes them nervous?
Well, I think the one part is certainly the religion, because it's a holistic way of thinking. It's really bringing in the environment. It's a whole way of living. It's different than the Christian religions. The Christian religions are, I can go to church on Sunday, I can repent, my soul can be saved, I can do whatever the rest of the week, and on Sunday I'll go to confession again and it all starts over. So it's not a way of living your life with the earth and the animals and everything that exists as your brothers and sisters. That is a whole different way of understanding. And the fact that there are several spirits that exist. There's not one God. There are several spirits that exist that support you on this earth where we live today, in how we live our lives. So we can call upon those spirits to actually help us with the different things that are going on with our lives, the different healing that we need as we move forward. Christians believe in only one God. So that in itself is a huge conflict.
It was sung by immigrants as they struck out for distant shores and pioneers who pushed westward against an unforgiving wilderness. Yes, we can. It was the call of workers who organized, women who reached for the ballot, a president who chose the moon as our new frontier, and a king who took us to the mountaintop and pointed the way to the promised land. Yes, we can to justice and equality.
I never dreamed that that would ever happen. In fact, if somebody had told me it was going to happen, I wouldn't have believed it.